VandyBoys dropped the series in College Station, but it's not all bad. I think there might be some solutions on the way.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton, and today we're going to talk about what the VandyBoys need to do to get back on the right track, especially this weekend as they welcome the Oklahoma Sooners in Nashville for a weekend set starting on Thursday. Got a midweeker against Eastern Kentucky. And they've got some things they got to figure out after dropping the series against Texas A&M. Walks are an issue. Do they have a solution to the weekend rotation? But not all was bad. The bats were awesome. Colin Barzci, welcome back to the lineup. I think his extended action, he had 3 home runs on Friday to help at least not get swept and to give them a chance to win the series, which I think coming into it on the road, that's all you could ask for. But we're going to start right. Well, I guess we'll start right there. They lose the series to Texas A&M. What happened? What went wrong? The third game, I think, it just fell apart after that because I think they had a collapse in the end of the second game. It was a doubleheader because of inclement weather. They had a little bit of a collapse, and it just carried over into the third game. And the third game was just not very good all around. And it just, I think the momentum had already just kind of gone on A&M side. A&M came out on all cylinders in Game 3. They were wearing the red, white, and blue uniforms, and they just came out and toasted Vanderbilt. But what are the positives from this game? Well, I think the positives are this: Mike Mancini had a great weekend. Tommy Gooden had a great weekend. Colby Reynolds had a great weekend. I think they had some really good at bats there. Colin Barzci hitting 3 home runs in game 1 of this series. But when you look at it from a stats perspective, I think you have a lot of guys that are hitting really well, and the approach at the plate just overall, without even looking at stats, the approach at the plate overall has improved drastically. And that is something coming into the season that was going to be the issue. Can they figure out the hitting? Is Jason Esposito going to be the answer? I think he absolutely is. What I didn't think was going to be a point of emphasis for the season was pitching. I thought pitching, you had 3 really good weekend guys. I think you had some experienced bullpen guys, and you had some freshmen in the wings that were going to get some midweek experience. Maybe one of them could crack the weekend rotation with Baird, Nadeau, and Connor Hamilton. And it looks like, well, you might get all 3 of them. And that's something that I think could turn into a strength, but they've got to figure out something with pitching. I mean, they got to. It's getting – the walks are getting bad. Because I think when you get to a certain point pitching-wise, I think it's where you notice – the bats, the pressure's on too much. And with the hitting, I think the approach changes. I think the overall momentum changes, the feel changes as far as, okay, what do we need to do from a hitting standpoint to make up for these pitchers that are walking guys, that are giving up crucial hits in crucial situations. I mean, you had a chance. You were down 2 against A&M in game 2. You had a chance to win that game. You had a legitimate chance to win that game. And you had that inning where you gave up 2 runs on a call that got overturned, on a catch that I think if he'd have played it a little better, probably would have made it in a less exciting way. But the hitting just in the clutch, it just went away because I think when the pressure was on, I think when there was some things – I think when the momentum started swinging in the favor of A&M, it just faltered, and then in game 3, everything fell apart. So And that's because I think you don't have I don't think you have a legitimate third starter. I don't think you have an option there. However, I think there's a solution here. Connor Hamilton. He went the distance on Tuesday against Belmont, and I get it. It's Belmont. It's not a conference opponent. He went the distance against Belmont, had a really good outing. I think he's had good outings in every start he's made, or every appearance that he's made. He's a guy that has a lot of potential. And when you're struggling with pitching and you've got a guy that has great stuff, typically has good command of his pitching, I think you got to roll with him. I think for Connor Hamilton, I think it's time. Because you have injury, you have opportunity, it's time. Nadeau proved his worth. Now, I think he had a pretty good outing in game 2. Connor Fennell is continuing to be up and down. But I think with the pitching the way it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know where the inconsistencies are. But I think Connor Hamilton should get that shot. I think that's got to be your game 3 starter, your Sunday starter, whatever, the last game of the series starter. I think that's, instead of TBD and trying to figure it out, I think it's got to be Connor Hamilton. And then I think you let Tyler Baird start the midweek because I think there's something there with him. I don't know. I think maybe you could start him in the midweek and see how he is as a starter because he's had some pretty good relief appearances. But then again, in other relief like he's inconsistent as a reliever. Maybe he's more suited as a starter. You throw him in as a midweek guy, see what he's got. You move Hamilton to the weekend rotation, and you roll with that. I mean, I don't know what else you can, I don't think it could be more of a disaster than it was on Friday on game 3. I don't think it could be more of a disaster than it was brutal. So that's got to be something that I think you have to kind of figure out. I don't know what you're going to do, but walks, it just seems like that's just been the biggest issue with this pitching staff. When they're walking a bunch of people, you can't win. If you're giving them opportunities to drive runs in by putting guys on base for free, it's not good. Now, if you get a team that, if you're pitching and you're pitching a beauty and you get a team that just comes out and they're just hitting well, not a whole lot you can do. I thought game 2, I thought there were some really good moments in game 2. I think Texas A&M is a really good hitting team. And I think A&M won game 2, but I think A&M, it was a combination of A&M winning and Vanderbilt losing. And I know that doesn't make much sense, but it's a combination of like, okay, well, Vanderbilt had no shot. The VandyBoys didn't do anything in game 3 to give themselves a chance to win that game. And A&M, yeah, they came out and hit well, but they didn't really have to do much. So it's why it's kind of a combination. But game 2, I think A&M outplayed the VandyBoys. And I think game 1, Vandy won that game. A&M didn't lose it. Vandy won it. A&M won game 2. Those were 2 really competitive games. Game 3, I think Vandy lost it as much as A&M won it, if I'm being honest. So you got to figure out the walks. You got to figure out the errors. You got to figure out just how to pitch to these guys. So what do? Well, I think you give Connor Hamilton a shot. Is it going to get much worse? I don't know. But I think you give him a shot there. But anyway, we're going to continue with this. Homestand against Oklahoma. What do we have to see from this team to feel good about where we're at? You knew the streak was going to snap. They were on a 6-game win streak. You knew that was going to snap at some point. They got a homestand against Oklahoma. What do we want to see from that? We'll talk about it next. Wayfair. Man, Way Day is here. And if you've been thinking about upgrading your space, this is the time to do it. We're talking about some of the best deals of the year on furniture, decor, outdoor essentials, everything you need to refresh your home. During Way Day, Wayfair is offering up to 80% off with fast and free shipping on everything, making it easy to find pieces that fit your style and your budget. And honestly, my favorite is just how easy it is. I just love Wayfair is a great site because it's super easy to filter by size, style, and price, so you're not wasting time scrolling. And I like that they have verified products that are vetted by specialists, so you know you're getting quality. I can find it easily, and I know what I'm getting. Whether it's upgrading a room, adding outdoor pieces, or just finding something that ties your space together, it makes the whole process simple from start to finish. Wayday is the sale to shop the best deals in home. We're talking up to 80% off, fast and free shipping on everything. So head to wayfair.com April 25th through the 27th to shop Wayday. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Tax season, tax time, it's a lot for us, but the old way of doing taxes, well, it's a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. So head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. Last and certainly not least, this is the fun part. You can join the Everydayer Club. Get the first month of the Everydayer Club for free when you use promo code MARCH. You'll get to unlock ad-free episodes and entry into our private listener group chat where I'm hanging out daily. So click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonvandy.supercast.com to claim your free month using promo code MARCH. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen at Locked On Vandy if you want to follow along at home. Talking a little baseball because this VandyBoys team is just so difficult to figure out. You go from game one on Thursday, which was amazing. Colin Barzci, 3 home runs. Mike Mancini, Tommy Gooden also contributing 14-8, a victory. You go from that to game 2 where it's back and forth. It's competitive. You lose, but because there's inclement weather approaching, you have to go to a doubleheader. Game 3 is just a wash because it was awful all around. But it's hard to figure them out. They were on a 6-game win streak. They swept Tennessee. And then just all of a sudden, pitching falls apart. And that's something that the consistency of that has been an issue. Now, A&M's a good hitting team. They have a great lineup. So I don't want to take anything away from the Aggies in that regard. However, when you walk a whole bunch of people, it just gets tough. And that's something that against Oklahoma, this pitching staff has to figure out a way to do that. Now, in the midweek game, if you can again rest your bullpen, that helps too. Like I think if you can get your starter, whoever that is, I hope it's not Connor Hamilton. I hope he gets moved to the weekend. But whoever it is that starts, you hope that they can go 7. You throw a couple of guys to get them some experience, but for the most part, you've got to rest your bullpen. You've got to find some consistency. But it's a double-edged sword because you rest them, they're not getting the reps. But then you pitch them, and you got a game coming up Thursday, they might not be quite as available. So what do? I just think you got to rest them at this point in the season because you got to find the guys that can provide consistency. I don't think you have that right now. Tyler Baird from a long relief standpoint, I think can get it done. Schlote, I think is somebody that has potential. He had a really good outing in the 16 inning marathon against Tennessee. This weekend, he walks a whole bunch of guys. So it's kind of up and down. You just don't know what you're going to get from outing to outing. And that's kind of, pitching by nature is that a little bit. But for the most part, you've just got to figure out how you can just limit the walks. Just cut them in half, at least. Just don't let guys, don't fill the base paths with walks. That is a killer. In any level, any league, anytime, it's a killer. And if you can't get a grip on that, the season's going to slip away from you in a hurry. And Vanderbilt still has a chance at making a regional. They still have some things ahead of them. They still have goals in reach. Those goals will get out of reach pretty soon if you can't find consistency from a pitching perspective. Now, from a hitting perspective, I think is the reason why they still have a chance. I think there's been some times where they've hit their way out of these pitching struggles. And this is something that when you look at against Oklahoma, they may, or Oklahoma and any other future opponent, they're going to have to hit their way through these games. And they're going to have to find some consistency, whether it's less long balls and more extra base hits, getting guys on, moving guys around, having a little bit of small ball mixed in, being able to, they're starting to get to a point where it's home run or bust, which is unfortunate. And you don't want to be there either, where you enjoy the power, but it can also get to a point where it's either home run or it's bust. So I want to see a more consistent hitting performance as well. I want to see some guys being able to hit in different situations. I want to see you get runners in scoring position and drive them in with a shot down the line. I want to see singles. I want to see guys taking pitchers deep into counts. I want to see if Vandy can get to Oklahoma's bullpen quickly and wear down their bullpen. I want to see if they can do all of that and still drive the ball out of the park. Still get Mike Mancini up there, get Colin Barzci up there, get Tommy Gooden, whoever, and just let them drive it out of the park. I just don't think Vandy's consistent from just an overall hitting perspective, whereas they're getting on base and they're constant. Like, I think what A&M did was they combined power and just good hitting. And I think that's how they win. Mississippi State, same way. They get guys on base and they move them and they drive them in. They hit with power and they hit with consistency. I don't think Vandy's quite there yet. I think Vandy has some holes there. And Jason Esposito's done a great job of bringing power back to the lineup. And that's probably the main thing that they needed. They needed more power. Now let's swing that pendulum back towards the middle a little bit, get a little more variety, get a little more consistency with getting guys on base and bringing them in. Hitting with runners in scoring positions, hitting in high pressure situations, it's just not there yet. The ability to get up to the plate, you just don't know what's going to happen. You just got to hope that they drive it somewhere. Whereas like other teams get up and it's just like, okay, they're probably, you get the middle of their lineup and it's guaranteed runs. And so Vandy's got to find a way to get to that point where they can consistently hit game in and game out. They go on these, they get the highs of highs, they get the lows of lows. And that's going to be troublesome in postseason play, with the pitching being the same exact way. They either get really good or really bad. Chicken salad or, the rest. Anyway, so important series against Oklahoma coming up. If they can take the series or even get a sweep, that would be great. That's the goal at home. That's what you got to do at home. You got to take care of the home park, which I think they can. I think they will. They'll at least win the series against Oklahoma. It's Thursday through Saturday this week, and so that'll be good. So we'll know by the end of Saturday whether or not. Again, I say this every week, and I still haven't got any answers. So I'm gonna say it until we get some answers. I'm gonna say that until we get a good idea of what this team is, which I don't know that you will get a ton of answers, but the goal is to get answers to see where this team is so that you can move forward. But anyway, that's all I got here on this episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll continue to talk baseball, the midweek game. Join us for the Baseball Squad show as well. Football, of course, basketball transfer portal. What's going to happen with Tyler Tanner? Like, how is he going to help drive the transfer portal? Mark Byington's moves in the portal will kind of signify where Tyler Tanner is leaning. So all that plus more right here. It's Locked On Vandy. Until next time, anchor down. Peace.